Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Fat Corner Talk Shows on 2023 Nigerian elections. And some of you might wonder, why are we still discussing 2023 elections after the elections have been concluded? It's because of the fallout of the election and also the conversations that people are having about the election, about what transpired in the election, and even the case that the oppositions are fighting in court are still important conversation. And I think there are still conversations that we need to have to sort of develop our democracy in Nigeria, and also to make sure that people comport themselves in peaceful manner. So this is why we are still having this conversation. Yeah, it's true that the February 25th presidential election has been concluded, and it was highly contested election. The the winner has been declared, Bola-Ahmed Tinubu of APC, having won 8.9 million votes of the total to 24.96 million votes cast in the election. So the election had a number of problems: low voters turnout, voters suppression were rampant, and the announcement of the incumbent APC victory was met with a lot of agitations, because there were allegations of voters fraud from the opposition party. So there is still chaos there is still chaos that we're trying to address even after the election, because we've been having allegations, counter allegations, and a lot of issues that election has thrown up. But what I want to focus on today is the interview granted by the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, that's Baba-Ahmed, and also the response to that interview by Professor Wole Soyinka, and also the sort of arguments or the sort of debate that this has generated on social media. These are some of the issues that I want to address in today's talk show or podcast. So, but let me start with a little bit of digression. Let me talk about Nigeria. Nigeria is a diverse country with population of over 200 million people, about 270 ethnic groups who speak over 370 languages, and we have diversity even in religion. We have the two major religions in the country, Muslim and Islamic religion, which is predominated in the north, while we have the Christian mostly in the southern part of the country. And in light of this, over the years, we've sort of built frameworks to bring Nigerians together, to unite us, even especially during the process of our election. And that is why we have in our electoral act that the candidate that will emerge as the president of the country must have scored 25% of the vote cast in at least 2/3 of the country, 36 states, and the Federal Capital Territory. That is the requirement in order to win the presidency. And the system has also been designed in such a way to ensure that no single ethnic or religious group dominates the electoral system. And that is why, just to protect the diverse interest of many Nigerians, religious group and ethnic groups. So that has led to sort of rotation between Muslim and Christian. And that is why you see that if a party has a Christian as its presidential candidate, will balance that ticket with a Muslim as the vice presidential candidate. And also we go down to the other positions, key positions in the country, like Senate president, like speaker. We make sure that there is a balance of religion, of diverse interest in this ticket. So, but yeah, we had outrage with the decision of APC to run with Muslim together. I'm just saying all of this to provide some sort of background to the efforts that we made in the past years to unite the country. We've done so many things. We put so many frameworks together, not just for the election, not just frameworks for election, but also other frameworks for national unity, like the National Youth Service Corps is one of the framework we bring together to make sure that young people in Nigeria that are just graduating from university and polytechnic are sent to different parts of the country so that they can understand the culture, the environment that is different from where they grow up from. And these are some of the things that we've been doing. But it seems that all of these frameworks that we've put together to ensure national unity has not really worked. If you look at the kind of conversations that are still coming out of our politicians and opinion leaders in the country, you look at the kind of conversations that are coming from these leading candidates, which sort of aggravates or sort of escalates the ethnic tensions in the country, and it looks like even the followers are not helping matters the way they go about issues, saying it's somebody from my own our own person, somebody from our religious group, or things like it's our turn, it's the turn of a particular ethnic group. These are the kind of conversations that comes into our political discussion, and it's conversations that are sort of dividing the country, which has not really helped us as a nation. I've spoken about tribalism, ethnicity in Nigerian politics in my previous presentation on this talk show. And if you want to see how I discuss or what I discussed in that episode, please go and look at our page on Facebook and on YouTube, and you will see my discussion on that particular topic, ethnicity and tribalism in Nigerian politics. It's fat corner in uppercase, fat in uppercase and corner in lowercase. And you can see us on Facebook and also on YouTube. So, like I said, what I want to focus on today is the back and forth between Professor Wole Soyinka and the OBIdient Movement, and what has caused that kind of argument. So that is what I want to discuss. I want to provide some education on this important topic. But I'm going to start by showing you what Mr. Dati Baba-Ahmed has said on Chinese TV that sort of caused the response that Professor Soyinka provided.
That's why I'm so lawful. That is why I'm so confident. Nigeria, I believe in this document. That is why I'm so lawful. That is why I'm so confident. And that is why however extreme it is, Sheung, I am saying it on national TV. I don't like to take risks. I'm not taking any risks. Swearing in a ticket that has not met the constitutional requirements of the Constitution, okay, is ending democracy. Quote me on it.
That's your interpretation.
That is my interpretation, and that is indeed a correct interpretation. You cannot swear people who have not met the constitutional requirement. You can't do that. If you did it, you have done something unlawful, something unconstitutional. And I'm repeating it. Whoever does not meet the constitutional requirement must never be sworn in. You said my name. If you like, I can say it again. I'm Dati Baba-Ahmed. I'm not taking risks with my safety and with my life. But I'm repeating. Swear in anybody who does not meet the constitutional requirements of our country. You are engaging in an unconstitutional act. Mr. President, do not hold that inauguration. CJ and your lordship, do not partake in unconstitutionality. I am taking these risks for the sake of my country. Yes, it is extreme.
Yeah, so this is what this was what Dati Baba-Ahmed said on Channels TV. So now I'm going to play what the response of Professor Wole Soyinka to this statement from Dati Baba-Ahmed.
Dati Ahmed's statement was unbecoming.
Okay, nearly the totality. Listen, the interviewer asked him several times. He said, what will you do if the Supreme Court judgment is against you? If the interpretation which you are offering about the constitutional aspect of this election, if it is against that of the Supreme Court and they find against you. And he kept saying, no, it's not even open to analysis. The word says and it's very clear. And the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, had better give this, in other words, his interpretation. I mean, this is trying to dictate to the supreme arbiter of the nation. Whatever you think of the Supreme Court, it is an institution we all revert to sooner or later. If not today, then tomorrow. If not about this election, maybe about the next election. But Dati kept saying, no, the Supreme Court has got, in its wisdom, to agree with me. That is what is known as fascistic language. It is not acceptable. And for me, it alienates people. It alienates even supporters. I know this for a fact. People come to me, you know how I relate to young people. I relate to those who have found certain problems with the spokespeople of this particular movement. I'm not interested in the other ones. Everybody knows the other movements. But there's a new boy on the block, as the expression stays. And many of us have been waiting for that new kid on the block. And so we have a stake in it. And wherever it seems to be going wrong, we're going to tell the truth to that new kid. And the supporters who also say they have allied thinking with us, that's all. But go and watch that tape all over again. Introduce that tape to any kind of neutral jury, members of whom don't even know anything about the Nigerian situation. Talk about body language, talk about vocal language, talk about the actual text of Dati's pronouncement. This is intimidation, and it's not acceptable. I refuse to be part of that.
Yeah, so that was Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka response to what Dati Baba-Ahmed said about his own interpretation of Section 134, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act. But what I want us to discuss is the fallout to the comments of these two people. So I agree with Professor Wole Soyinka that Dr. Dati Baba-Ahmed has made a strong opinion about the interpretation of the Electoral Act. But what I don't agree with is the fascism, the word fascist. It looks to me like an extreme word to describe what Dati Baba-Ahmed has said. But that is not what I want us to focus on. I believe these two people are opinion leaders. They are entitled to their opinions. But what I want to focus on is what Professor Wole Soyinka said about the Obidient Movement. And he used some strong words to describe these people. This is what I want to discuss on the show today. So Professor Wole Soyinka said, when he was describing the Obidient Movement, I think after the interview on Arise TV, Obidient Movement were attacking him on social media, and he came back and said that is one of the most repulsive, off-putting concussions he ever encountered in any political arena. And he said that, he said so many things. I'm trying to look for some of the ways he described. So he released a statement entitled "Fascism on Course," and said that Nigerian democracy in 2023 has witnessed much that is innovative, largely in the retrogressive vein. Violence and ethnic profiling, spiritual warfare in the shape of sacrificial lamb to keep disloyal community under restraint. In short, intimidation, yet again. And he used so many things, so many derogatory remarks on Obidient Movement. But what I want us to look at, like I've done an episode of this talk where I describe the Obidient Movement, and I don't think they fit into the description of Professor Wole Soyinka, and we must be factual with this. Obidient Movement are young Nigerians who say they have grown tired of older politicians in Nigeria because they believe that these older politicians have failed, and the evidence is there that Nigeria is underperforming as a country. Now, these people are mobilizing behind a candidate they consider more youthful among the leading candidates in the last election, and the one that they can relate with his manifesto and the kind of solutions that this candidate is offering to myriads of problems that are facing Nigeria. So this candidate said that, okay, out of all the candidates that are leading candidates in this election, we have Bola-Ahmed Tinubu, we have Wakwanso, we have Atiku Abubakar, we have Peter Obi. They said, okay, it is Peter Obi we believe is offering the solutions that we want. We are not going for 70-year-old Bola-Ahmed Tinubu, who was governor of Lagos State, and also the candidate of APC. We are not going for 75-year-old Atiku Abubakar, who was a former vice president and running for the presidency under PDP. But we are going for Peter Obi, that we believe is the youngest of the three, and we believe that is the one that is calling for the new era, and is the one that have shown that is different in terms of what it brings on the table to the other people. And what are the key things that Obidients have used to rate Peter Obi is frugal spending, frugality, how he managed the funds at his disposal as governor of Anambra State, how he was able to reduce costs of governance, and he was able to save money for the state, and how he was able to transform the educational and business sector during his stint as governor. His open and accessible style of leadership, he's always making himself available for interview to answer difficult questions, unlike the other two leading candidates that are evasive in terms of their leadership style. They don't engage the media as much. So these are the major things that the Obidients see in Peter Obi to say this is who we are following. And now let's look at what these people have done. What these people have done is that they've come together, they put in their resources, they put in their own money, and they are going about canvassing for this person. And in that process, people call them all manners of names, call them headless mob, call them Obidients, and so many derogatory names, but they remain focused on the goal. They use their resources, they support their candidate, they go all out, and then they start the revolution that we see in our political landscape. And they were able to show that the young people, we are not moved by the temptation of collecting bribes or money to fulfill our destiny, and that we are going to stand with what we believe on. I think it is extremely it is highly unfair for someone that we all see as a mentor, as an icon in Nigeria, in the person of Professor Wole Soyinka, to look at these people and use the word fascism, to call them fascists. It's something that personally I don't expect. I was never expecting that kind of remarks from Professor Soyinka, because he's someone that I respect so much. But to say that Obidient movements are fascist, it's highly, and that Peter Obi has lost the election because of the Obidient movement, even when you know, as a professor, when you see clear evidences of fraud in that election, and you know, as a professor, that the issue of who actually won that election is still a contestable issue. It's still a debatable. It's still an issue that is in court, and that court has not made pronouncement on. To now come to an agreement, to now come to a conclusion that Peter Obi lost the election. On what basis are you saying Peter Obi lost the election, when the issue of the election itself is still a subject of litigation, and it's something that the court has not made pronouncement on? So it's a little bit disappointing, and I think that we shouldn't have seen that kind of thing from Professor Wole Soyinka. So if you say that Obidient movement, they don't accommodate criticism, they don't accept criticism, they don't listen, and because of that they are fascists. So what do you say to the people that were insulting ex-president Olusegun Obasanjo because he didn't support their candidate? What will you say to other people to the supporters of other candidates, like APC candidates, that are calling other people that do not support their candidate, that are calling them all manners of names? Would you say that those ones are also fascists? I think that we have to understand that in a democracy, people are free to express their opinions without any fear of intimidation, of harassment, without people calling them names. If you say that the supporters of Peter Obi are fascists, what do you say to supporters of Muhammadu Buhari in 2011 that went about rioting after Muhammadu Buhari lost an election, and in that process they burnt houses and they destroyed so many things, and many people lost their lives? So what do you say to that, to those people? And what do you say to people in if you say, okay, because Dati Baba-Ahmed, I don't want to dwell on Dati Baba-Ahmed's comment and whether what he said is unbecoming or out of line or not, but I know that we have politicians in APC that have said things that are more dangerous than the opinion that Dati Baba-Ahmed expressed. People that have said things like we will form parallel governments. So what do you say to those people? If we lose the election, we will form parallel government. So I think it's unfair, and this takes me to the question of unity of Nigeria, and I think that this is what young Nigerians should be looking forward to. Not allowing the kind of narratives that politicians are pushing to divide them. And I'm calling on young Nigerians, whether you are Igbo or you're Yoruba or you're Hausa, don't allow what the older people, especially the politicians, don't allow what they are saying to divide you. We have to understand that one of the factors towards achieving a sustainable democracy in Nigeria is unity. And this ethnic problem that has been there over the years we should not allow this ethnic conflict, ethnic problem, to pass from these older people to us. I think we should have a population of young Nigerians that have consensus around the issues that they should talk about, the issues they should fight for. And one of the issues that we should talk about is the unity. And we have to have some sort of consensus around this. Is the unity of this country, is how important it is for us to appreciate our diversity. How important is it for us to understand inclusion, that irrespective of where people have come from, we don't need to profile them with the ethnic group they've come from or with the kind of religion they practice. These are personal things to people. I don't see it as big issue that should dominate the sort of conversations that we have on social media. And that is what I want us to focus on as young Nigerians. We should understand that we can't be part of all these crimes that have been perpetrated against Nigeria in the name of ethnicity. All these ethnic militias, all these people that are trying to incite violence. We can't be part of that, and we can't make arguments. We can't make excuses for them. We can't make excuses for people that are saying we want our man. All this our man syndrome, our person syndrome, is not going to help our politics. So we have to look at how do we address the issues of inequalities, of injustices, of discrimination that sort of deplete our social political discussions, things that are not going to help us. And we have to come together as young Nigerians and have consensus around what is acceptable to us as a country, and know that people that are pushing this ethnic division, they are doing so for their personal selfish interests. It's not in the interest of anybody. So we have to understand what we need to do, the role we need to play in making sure that we don't aggravate this ethnic tension that is already in the country. And this is what I want us to. So I want to, what I want to drive home today is that the Obidient Movement, they are not fascist. They are not, they are not burning houses. They are not killing people. They are not inciting violence. If you say they are fierce in the way they go about discussing, or the way they go about supporting their preferred candidates, I can understand. But if you say they're a fascist, I think it's an extreme word. I think it's a very strong word, and I think someone in the caliber, in the status of Professor Wole Soyinka, I don't think he should engage himself in such kind of wall of words. And I want to also say that Obidients needs to also understand that people can have opinions, and most of the time you don't need to respond to everything. There are some things that you just overlook. You don't need to call out everybody. Let people have their opinions, and this is where we can move forward as a country. So this is what I have on the talk show for today, and please drop your comments in the comment section, and also do follow us on social media, on Facebook and on YouTube, and we'll meet again next time. Thank you very much.